Ah, the tangled webs we weave.
What's going on, y'all? It's Dawhveed, and we are back with part 2 of my favorite Borderlands 3 weapons list. This is just a list of my favorite weapons to use, so don't take this as a tier list of any sorts. I go over what the weapon does, where and how to get it, what I like about it, or why it's one of my favorites, and where I used it. If you missed part 1 of my list, I'll throw it up on screen for you right here. Before I get into the list though, today's question of the day is going to be, if you could make one grenade or shield mod, what would it be called and what would it do? Mine would be a grenade mod called the Bubbly, where once you throw it, it spawns a bubble shield that you can shoot out of, but enemies can't shoot into. And then after a few seconds, it explodes outwards, damaging enemies outside of the bubble. Remember to leave the answer to this down below in the comments, and I'll pick one out to feature in my next video. Okay, here we go. This second half of my list contains no guns, and instead contains grenade and shield mods. So number 6 on my favorite weapons list goes to the Hex Grenade. Now, I know some of you probably expected this, since it is one of, if not the most popular grenade amongst many players. The Hex is a legendary Atlas grenade mod that can drop with the element of shock, cryo, radiation, and possibly corrosive, but don't quote me on that. The red text reads, "Keeper of the Stars I Hope to Never Find," which I believe is a reference to a Between the Buried and Me song, All Bodies. The Hex can come in multiple different prefixes, which alter how many grenades it splits into, or how many MIRVs spawn, and since it's made by Atlas, each of the grenades and MIRVs are homing. You can find this grenade mod, like many other legendaries, as a world drop anywhere that you can get loot from. I've got both of mine from farming Graveward. The Hex Grenade mod made my list because not only does it look super freaking cool, but it does absurd damage and it's crazy flexible and reliable. Because of its homing and MIRV capability, it's almost impossible to miss out on damage, and the way that it chains the elemental damage to the enemies are one of my favorite visuals in this game. The two variations that I came across and have been using are the Recurring Hex, where each grenade splits into 2 grenades, and each of those grenades spawn 3 MIRVs to deal shock damage, and the MIRV-tacular Hex, where each grenade splits into 6 MIRVs that each deal radiation damage. I use the shock damage one normally for huge mobs and enemies with shields, like so. And I use the radiation one for bigger enemies, or if I'm running a radiation build to spread the radiation and watch everything explode. The Hex is incredibly good if you're in need of a great all-around grenade mod for bossing and mobbing, and it works really well with extra elemental or splash damage buffs. So go find yourself a Hex because you don't want to be without this grenade mod. Coming up next on the list is the grenade mod that before I found the Hex I could not go without, and that is the Epicenter grenade mod. The Epicenter is a legendary Vladof grenade mod that only drops as incendiary. The red text reads, "It burns, burns, burns," referring to the song Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, because the special ability of this grenade is that once thrown and impacted onto something, the grenade lets out a ring of 13 flame orbs, identical to the ability that Troy has in his boss fight. The Epicenter comes in a normal variant, or the variant that I have been using, the Spring Epicenter, which does what the normal Epicenter does, except the grenade bounces once and then releases the ring of orbs a second time on hitting the ground. You can find the Epicenter or the Spring Epicenter from anywhere that you can loot, but like most of my gear, I've found them from farming Graveward. The Epicenter is here on my list because, well, like the Hex, it looks really freaking cool. The rings that spawn make it feel way more impactful than a normal grenade. Also, the impact damage on it is massive, along with the orbs spawning out that also deal major damage. I've been using the Spring Epicenter over other grenades such as the Hex against areas with beasts, mainly because they don't have shield or armor and are just mainly flesh, where incendiary damage shines. Also, it does a good chunk for bosses with flesh once their initial shields are down. If you're a Hex user but don't have a fire grenade other than the Firestorm, go give this one a try. You just might like it for the high burst damage or the mobbing ability with the orbs. Now, speaking of the Firestorm, number 8 on my favorite weapons list is the Firestorm grenade mod. The Firestorm is a legendary Hyperion or Vladof grenade mod that only drops with the incendiary element. The red text reads, "Soon afterwards the clouds descended upon the earth," which I don't think is a direct reference to anything, but rather just stating how when an actual firestorm occurs in real life, it can form a huge cloud and mess with the weather. The Firestorm comes in only 4 variants that I know of right now. The base version, which once thrown, a few meteors, I think it's 4, fall down on the area. The large Firestorm version that has the same effects as the base version, but the explosion radius is larger. The Singularity Firestorm version, that has the same effects as the base version also, but the initial grenade pulls enemies in for 1 second. And my favorite, and the one that I use regularly, is the Rain Firestorm version, where the initial grenade spawns out other grenades that also rain down meteors, but this one has a lot more than 4 meteors. I think it's somewhere in the teens, like 13 or 14 or something. You can find all 4 versions from any lootable source, but similar to most of my other things, I found all of mine from Graveward. The Firestorm made it onto my top 10 list because, well, I mean, come on, the grenade just looks so damn cool, especially the rain one. It might not be the most effective grenade mod since most of the meteors can miss, but no other grenade in the game right now looks nearly as cool as the Rain Firestorm. Also, since my other go-to grenade, the Hex, doesn't currently come in an incendiary element, this grenade supplements that and can really mess up some flesh enemies. A small downside to note though, if you're in an enclosed space such as a room, the meteors might not come down onto the field and instead just hit the roof. I've been using the Firestorm for areas with larger amount of mobs, such as the Circle of Slaughter, because it has a massive incendiary damage AoE and really helps with clearing out waves or just getting you out of a tough situation. Definitely go farm for one of these if you're considering any endgame material and you are in need of a good grenade mod. You'll definitely want the Firestorm. Now, moving on to the last 2 on my list, I actually have 2 shield mods that I absolutely love using that help me dish out some extra damage or just get me out of sticky situations. The first one, number 9 on my list, is the Messy Breakup shield mod. The Messy Breakup is a legendary Anshin shield mod with the red text reading, "It's complicated," probably referring to the relationship between Genevieve and Balex. The special ability of this shield mod spawns a small drone that follows you around and shoots at enemies. Once your shield is depleted, another smaller drone spawns temporarily to help you out and each drone shoots faster. I have only found this to spawn from the Genevieve fight on the family jewel ship, and that ship is deep in the Voracious Canopy area on Eden 6, so I believe that it exclusively drops there. I have this shield mod on my list actually for a few reasons. The first one is the novelty of it is fantastic. The shield talks to you and it helps those lonely grind sessions not feel so lonely.
Who needs adventure? Let's stay in tonight. I've got all 82 seasons of 1 star to live.
Some of the quotes are just really funny, and this reason alone is definitely enough for me to enjoy using it. The second reason is more of a personal preference. In most of the games that I play, I just love having the ability to have my own companions, so playing Flak and having a pet along with a mini robot on my side just makes me happy. The third reason is that the shield just kicks ass. If you ever happen to go down, the 2 drones can deal massive damage to pick you back up with a second wind, and that in itself is just really awesome. I like to use the Messy Breakup in fights where I don't have as many enemies to worry about, or when I want to use my companion build and have a bunch of allies on my side fighting with me. If you're like me and enjoy not feeling so alone when you're alone, or if you enjoy having a tiny robot speaking to you during combat, go farm some Genevieve and pick yourself up a Messy Breakup. And now, last but not least, to round out my top 10 favorite weapons list that I had so much fun making is the Frozen Heart. The Frozen Heart is a legendary Anshin shield mod with a red text reading, "I feel cold," referring back to the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, The Curse of the Black Pearl scene, where Jack shoots Barbossa and he says,
"I feel cold."
The special ability of this shield mod is that once your shield is depleted, it releases a damaging Cryonova, hitting and freezing all nearby enemies while also returning a percentage of that damage back to you as health. I believe this drops exclusively from Aurelia Hammerlock on the Black Barrel cellar area in Eden 6. The Frozen Heart made my list because it was my favorite shield mod during my first playthrough, and once I hit level 50 I went back to farm it. It just feels so safe to use and the freeze effect is crazy powerful. The enemies that are left alive after the Nova are frozen in place, helping you secure a clean getaway or just enabling you to lay down some more damage onto them safely. The HP return is also really helpful. For instance, if you take a huge hit that strips your shield and takes out a chunk of your health, the shield effect freezes everyone around you and then returns health back to keep you topped off. Also, the name reminds me of an identically named item from League of Legends, as well as the Frost Nova effect reminding me of an identically named spell from Hearthstone. Both are other games that I enjoy. I love using this shield pretty much everywhere. The effect is just so strong and safe and can really help you get out of bad situations. It's sort of a fail-safe and a very reliable one at that. If you don't have yourself one of these, I definitely recommend you go get yourself one. So that is going to wrap it up for my top 10 list of my favorite weapons in Borderlands 3. If you missed part 1, definitely go check that out here. I'll be making an honorable mentions list for the weapons that didn't make it into my top 10 later on this week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it and leave me a comment on what you want to see next from me. I'll make sure to reply to all of them. I was thinking of doing a series on quest rewards that no one uses, but that I think have some potential to be useful. Also, don't forget to leave me a comment on your answer to my question of the day and I'll feature it on my next video. Here's the comment that I picked out from the last video when I asked what everyone's favorite weapon was. Thank you guys for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya!